Zenless Zone Zero. I honestly didn't think I'd be going back to this game after such a long time, but here we are. I covered this game back at launch and for a while afterward, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. From the unique combats and the adorable Bangboos to the very frequent cutscenes this game has in its story quest. There are a lot of things about it that I just straight up love, but somewhere along the way, like with a lot of these live service games, the honeymoon phase ended for me, and I just drifted away from it. But then a couple of days ago, the third season of Zenless Zone Zero dropped. My entire timeline was filled with praise for the new version of the game, and it felt like it came out of nowhere. I mean, just look at these titles, for example. I never thought 𝗖𝗍𝗍𝗶𝗵𝘁 could get this dark. Season 3 story started unbelievably strong. The update that officially silenced the critics. It felt like the community got flipped upside down. And so, of course, I got curious. What is the reason for this complete 180? Well, the good news is, the people from Hoyoverse actually contacted and sponsored me to give me that final push to get back into the game and experience the story for myself. If you want to see more content from me, feel free to smash the like button and subscribe. Hit the notification bell icon to keep up with my videos. Without wasting any more of your time, let's just get right into it. If you are a returning player like me, and you have at least finished the first chapter of Season 1, you will immediately be greeted by this pop-up. You don't need to grind through old content just to see the new updates. You can literally just unlock it early. If you missed it, and yeah, I don't blame you for that, you can just go to the events panel and unlock the story to jump straight into Season 3 Chapter 1 right now. To begin my review of the story, let's talk about where this is all taking place. Roscaelifer. I had a bit of trouble pronouncing it at first, but once I got used to it, it really is a pretty sounding name, isn't it? Roscaelifer is a massive vertical city floating in the sky. It kind of fits the name. And honestly speaking here, I have seen a lot of game developers fail to do justice to a floating sky island. But I feel like the Zenless Zone Zero devs hit a sweet spot in how they used the elevation to their advantage. When I experienced it for the first time, it truly felt like a breath of fresh air. You can look out over the entire city and see a flying traffic moving in the background. The bright scenery gives you a massive sense of scale without ever making you feel trapped. And it's ironic to say because this game is not really an open world game, but this area made me feel like it was. Besides, it is rare to find a true open world game that is not stuffed with empty space and basically nothing to do. You don't need a massive open space and a heavy memory requirements for a game to be good. Just look at Zenless Zone Zero. This game is the literal proof of that. The world feels dense and full. You walk around and notice the new things way more easily, like how the NPCs have entirely new outfits and how everything feels so alive. The best part about this new season is how they changed this one thing. If you play a lot of these gacha games, you know exactly how it goes. It is like when you go into a brand new region and on the way there, somehow the main character's head get hit by a metal pipe, and then, for lack of a better term, they forget. New region, new me, something like that. Like, okay, I guess I'll forget about all the characters that existed in this game before this region. Say goodbye. All of the experiences and the character building, especially for the main characters that don't have a personality. Bye-bye. I'm so sick of that stunt, bro. And I fully expected it to be the case for Zenless as well. But color me pleasantly surprised by the way the game actually avoided that whole routine. You get into the region, and the story feels like a direct and organic continuation of the plots we have already invested in. You do not need that usually boring world-building jargon dictionary thrown at you right at the beginning, nor do you spend 3 hours doing chores for the local NPCs just to learn more lore about the place. You are placed right into the middle of the narrative, and everything else just builds naturally around you while the story stays focused. And my viewers know this. I'm a guy who gets bored easily. It is hard for me to focus on something that doesn't engage me, and I actually demand more from these games, especially ones that are considered to be the most popular, if you know what I'm saying. I gotta give props to the story writers though, and I just gotta say it, the story feels great to play when it is like this. I'm talking about options. Something like the developers fixing a massive issue that usually ruins long-term gacha updates. Text fatigue. You would spend half of your time clicking through endless, unvoiced dialogue until your brain turns off. In 3.0, I noticed that they expanded the voiceover work to cover almost everything, even the random overworld chatter. Time tiny investigative gags and minor background dialogue are fully voiced now. You will have voice actors talking incredibly fast just to get the lines out, but it keeps the environment feeling completely alive and stops you from zoning out during the slower moments. And let me just make it clear, a lot of the time, I just can't get into the story because most gacha games treat their characters like walking product pitches. I mean, sure, that is the whole point of gacha games, and that is where most of the revenue comes from. But sometimes it gets a little bit too shameless, and I just cannot ignore it, right? Again, color me surprised, but Season 3 doesn't really do that. The new faces show up because they actually have a genuine reason to be there, making the whole narrative feel balanced instead of like forced interaction slap, which, let's be honest, is completely pointless. One of the examples I'm gonna give comes from one of my favorite characters in the quest, or should I say two of them, are Billy and 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝘁. They are easily the funniest combination the developers could have pulled off. Having them tag along feels like a situation where the main character is just trying to get things done, while these two absolute idiots are along purely for the comedic relief. They're there for the vibes.
As for the two of you, due to Norma's rather efficient handling of the application process, your registered identities went through some creative optimization. Miss 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝘁 is registered as an emotional support pet. Certain policies encourage such classifications, and it was the most expedient option.
Sounds like the perfect deal for 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝘁. Free food and free housing. Hey, wait a minute. Does that mean I'll be a pet too?
Mr. Billy is registered as a high-performance, multifunctional domestic support unit. In simpler terms, a household appliance.
So you're basically a robot vacuum? That's even worse than being a pet.
And to be honest, they absolutely nailed their parts. The thing is, having too many of these situations could make things annoying and ultimately divert focus from the main objective of the story quest. We don't want players to stop taking the story seriously if it's really trying to make an impact, right? So the game balances it out with Remiel. Players were completely won over by her design. She has this morally gray kind of personality where she is clearly doing some truly devious things in secret, but her chemistry with Belle and Norma works so well, you can't even be mad that she is out here making bonds right in front of you. The writers also figured out how to give the world actual stakes instead of relying on generic threats. Oh no, there is this big enemy about to destroy the new region we just entered. But with the power of friendship, we are going to win. And they do win. And everyone lives happily ever after. Sounds a bit generic, right? A bit boring, right? Writing like that will get your game labeled a slap game. So what makes this story different? Trauma. Lots of it, apparently. We get a deeper look into Helios Academy and watch Wise and Belle share their past, which makes the main cast feel like a genuine tight-knit family, you know?
Manager, how are things on your side? Someone suspicious just showed up at the academy.
Huh? What are you talking about, Blondie? I don't get a word you're saying.
Pardon my forwardness, but your hair is nearly indistinguishable from mine.
In this thing? In what thing?
Manager, I think you guys should probably just come over. I've got a bad feeling about this blonde. This guy. He doesn't seem friendly.
We love our brother and sister moments, but then the game hits you with the tragic reality of the Bangboos. These little mascot guys are usually just around to be cute and silly, but we find out they face a mandatory retirement system that forces them to undergo memory wipes. Losing your memories means losing your entire sense of self. I mean, just watching something that depressing happen to these tiny, helpless creatures, it makes me feel so bad. It is like grief. Like, what do you mean this little Bangboos have to go through that? Oh no!
Bangboos have zero rights. Unlike AI constructs, Bangboos are essentially just pets in the eyes of New Eridu. They are forbidden access to citizenship in the city, even if they have jobs, and are entirely built on the idea of humans taking care of them. In fact, if a Bangboo were to get lost in the streets and didn't have an owner no more, New Eridu court laws literally dictate destroying masterless Bangboos if found. This means even while they have human-like emotion and are practically smart as children, they still are legally just machines in the eyes of the law. Wow, that is awful. But how would you treat your Bangboo?
With that being said though, I couldn't be fully immersed without knowing what actually happened before going into this region, right? Does that make sense? Because it all just connects with the regions before this, and the story just continues. This game actually has a plot. Thankfully, the game gives you the answer. Through the proxy tracking menu, the game gives you a full story recap video and character breakdowns, so you aren't left scratching your head about what happened. It makes coming back incredibly seamless. I mean, that is why I caught up so easily in the first place. The game just makes it incredibly easy to pick up and start immediately. But of course, if you want to play it yourself, you can. The game also lets you switch back to older chapters at any time. Oh, but Glaive, am I going to permanently lose access to old rewards or lock myself out of the story if I were to go back? Don't worry, the answer is no. You can get the full experience. All of this is pretty neat, right? But that is just the side notes. Let's continue and talk about what I like. When I first played Zenless Zone Zero at the launch version, I honestly thought this game was gonna be some surface level fun. It felt like a lighthearted story with not much depth, and I was totally fine with that. So it did kind of catch me off guard when I found out that the game wanted to take a deeper route, and especially for this patch's story, it really took a dark psychological turn. I didn't think the game had the balls to do that. And hey, what else am I supposed to say? I guess I wasn't completely aware of what this game could do. There is a specific moment where Belle confronts her inner secrets, and the entity inside her says,
"That's right. I've been here inside you. I'm the one feeding that hunger for power you pretend not to have."
And that scene as a whole completely changes the atmosphere. Better yet, it changes how I see the game as a whole. And by the way, none of this would have landed if the voice cast hadn't absolutely cleared the bar. The voice acting across the board is great, but Courtney Steele, the voice actor for Belle, completely stole the show during the flashback nightmare sequence. She delivers these raw, agonizing screams that physically gave me goosebumps and shivers. It is that kind of performance when you can tell the actor was probably shaking in the recording studio just trying to hit that level of agony, and it genuinely hurts your soul to listen to. It was so good that it went viral on social media. Everybody was talking about this performance being so good. Matter of fact, some even joked that her rent was due. I mean, sorry to ruin the mood here, but by the gods, that is a funny theory. Her rent was due. Later on, we also get this massive power awakening sequence where Belle learns to project and control her ether altar, meaning she manifests this inner entity into a physical form for combat. Yes, the main character is finally playable. The player base immediately nicknamed this the 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝗁 form and pointed out how heavily it references the Persona games. I don't know what other game does this though. The main character is not playable at the start of the game, but then it becomes playable with a great introduction. Yeah, Zenless Zone Zero has got to be the pioneer for this kind of mechanic. All of this serves to completely nail the final hour. And to give the devs some credits, the climax here is actually phenomenal. You are tracking down a strange ethereal named 𝗖cie𝗽𝗆𝗵𝗁 while everything is falling apart around you. And then you end up in a massive boss battle, fighting right alongside Norma and Remiel to face off against the Worm Queen. It was done so well that players are openly calling this their favorite gacha MC right now, simply because they actually feel immersed in the story instead of just standing in a corner watching the side characters have all the fun, if you know what I mean. The developers also pulled off some really clever presentation tricks that they have never tried before, I don't think. They introduced this incredibly cool depth effect to the story's artwork scenes. Usually you would just be staring at a flat, static image while the voiceover and the dialogue plays out. But in this quest, the artwork actually pans and shifts perspective based on your mouse movements. It sounds like a subtle touch, but watching the environment and the characters realistically slide, gives the 2D panels this amazing sense of 3D depth that feels refreshing. One might say they are a bit creative with their work. This should be a regular thing, right? And then you have the big plot twist with 𝗿𝗏𝗏, which completely shattered everyone's theories. Before the patch dropped, the community was convinced we were looking for an external villain or a hidden mole, with almost everyone pointing fingers at Edward, one of the NPCs in the story. It seemed like the predictable route after all, but instead, the game completely shook the entire player base by revealing that 𝗿𝗏𝗏 herself is actually the... Aha! That is a big story spoiler. You should probably play the game yourself to find out, but I assure you, it is an insane plot twist. But what makes the reveal work in the first place is how her character was established up to that point. The community and even the Bangboos in the game think that she is a cold, terrifying figure, giving her the nickname Death Witch. Sometimes when she speaks, she sounds like a literal demon lord who never loses her composure. The player base immediately called this the peak Dami Mommy energy, a vibe where you make a mental note to never get on her bad side. But the irony is that her terrifying reputation is just a mask. She doesn't care if everyone hates her or thinks that she is a monster, because she is doing all of this to preserve those creatures for the greater good. At the end of the day, I am giving this story a solid 9 out of 10. The community was gassing this patch up like crazy before it even dropped, so expectations were ridiculously high. Usually that much hype just sets an update up to fail, but this one actually completely delivered. They completely upgraded the game's entire identity. They innovated the presentation by turning flat comic grids into moving 3D segments. The voice acting was already good, and now it is so much better. The story itself took some serious risk. They moved away from the safe routes and went for that dark psychological themes, literal inner demons, and creepy giant mascots. If you want to jump back and see Roscaelifer for yourself, make sure to use that new story skip feature to dive straight into chapter 3.0. You can download the game using my link down in the description down below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But that is all from me, 𝗿𝗏𝗶𝗵𝗁, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers!